What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we are taking a look at another musical sampling library called Pluck, or PLCK. And true to its name, it really contains a whole bunch of plucked instruments, plus some additional other ones, which are really interesting, like little gems. But yeah, it contains 16 plucked string instruments, guitar and box kit, and also an indie drum kit, which are not necessarily ones that you would expect to come in a plucked library. But they have strings, they have yeah, there, here we go. Orchestral. We have strings, we have bass guitars, regular guitars, banjo, nylon guitars, mandolin, ukulele, and then there's some other percussive instruments as well. But basically, any instruments that have some sort of attack to it, and then with a sort of natural release, those were kind of included in this library. So you're not going to get legato, you're not going to get sustains. This really is more of a niche library for any sort of maybe animation or child-friendly music that needs a kind of a more rhythmic touch to it. So yeah, for 119, I think it's pretty affordable for what you get. So before we get into the patches and play through the different sounds, I want to give you my sample library buyer's guide. If you don't have it yet, it's basically a compilation of my favorite sample libraries that I use on a regular basis, and it's really to answer the question of what libraries do I like to use. I get that question all the time, and so I wanted to kind of compile it into one easy to read, digestible PDF. It's totally free. If you want to click the first link in the description box below, it'll take you through every single instrument that I like to use. And so hopefully it can help you on your next purchase and give you some direction on where to go. If you're in the market for some new orchestral stuff or pianos, jazz libraries, ethnic libraries, all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's take a look at the actual library itself. Quick note that it's not for free Contact players, so you will need the full version of Contact 5.8.1 or higher, because libraries that are for Contact player, they cost the developer a lot of money to make it appear in the libraries tab, in Contact. So, but anyway, let's go through each of the patches a little bit, and you get a sense of what it sounds like, and then you can decide for yourself if you're kind of in the market for this type of thing, if you feel like it would be necessary for your music. But anyway, here we go. So something quick to note here is that for all of these patches so far, there is no legato function as we mentioned before. So they are polyphonic. You can actually play multiple notes at the same time, even for these bass guitars. So whereas in the Medusa library, for some of those bass and sound design patches, you had when you play one note, then you go to the next note. It kind of cuts off the first note. That function does not happen here. So you would want to make sure everything is quantized properly, or the initial attacks of the notes are lined up on your grid properly, so it doesn't overlap too much if you want only one note playing at a time. Let's get into the more orchestral instruments and hear these plucks. So I'm going to guess they're more pizzicatos. Here we go. Yeah, so I think out of the upright basses, I personally prefer the second one. It has a cleaner, more direct sound to it, whereas the first one has more of a room tone. It's a little overly resonant for me in the low mids, so I'd probably go with the second patch here personally. Okay, so a lot to love about this library, right? I mean, it is very niche, right? You're not going to get sustains, you're not going to get legato, you're not going to get a whole bunch of like orchestral stuff in here. But what you do get is a bunch of plucked, pitched, like really short articulations that are meant to be added into a more friendly kind of animated context, let's say. And the recording quality, as expected from musical sampling, is always very pristine, very clean. One thing I really enjoy is that they give us variations in the same instrument, for example. So I don't know if they're like separate instruments or whether they're mic'd up differently or performed differently, but when you have like one versus two, like for the nylon one, nylon two, or upright bass one, upright bass two, it does give you a little bit of choice. Usually one is just a little bit drier and more up close, whereas the other one is a little more room resonant and a little heavier in the low end. So you can kind of pick between those. But yeah, generally it's just a very fun library to kind of play with from first impressions. And of course, the GUI is very simple, true to musical sampling style. You do have the reverb knob for most of those patches. And, some of them do sound pretty good when dry, but you can always experiment with, however much reverb you want. Yeah, that's like super, super reverberant. And then all the way back to nothing. A lot more mono, of course. So the reverb will kind of spread it out, but that's personal taste there. I actually think their built-in reverb sounds pretty good. It doesn't like wash it out too much. You still get the main detail of the sound in there, so it still retains the original signal quite a bit, which is nice. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a sense of what Pluck sounds like. Let me know in the comment below if this type of library interests you. If you could see yourself doing music that requires these more plucked articulations that are maybe not necessarily included in other libraries. So yeah, just really cool to see a whole bunch of acoustically sampled instruments that are for a very certain unique purpose. And I think that's something musical sampling does really well, is they give their libraries a very unique identity every time. So when you go onto their page, when you go onto their website, you know exactly what you're going to get every time. There's plenty of demos for you to listen to. You can check out walkthrough videos on their YouTube channel. Even though they're not very in-depth, Aaron doesn't do any like talking in these more recent videos. He kind of just plays through the patches so you can hear them. But they're very functional. They do exactly what they need to do. And the product pages are very easy to read as well. But yeah, generally you know exactly what you're getting. And Pluck, you can see it's in his own category here. The Atelier series is some of my favorite stuff that I've reviewed on the channel already. And he was also very kind to send me the vocal bundle as well, which is like the Maggie, Amy, and Daydream. Maybe I can do a video on those in the future as well. But yeah, just a lot of fun playing with these instruments. And yeah, if you're interested in some more niche libraries that are non-orchestral, they do have orchestral stuff as well, but for non-orchestral stuff, definitely check out musical sampling. Big thanks again to Aaron for letting me check out the library. And before you go, I want to give you a gift again for watching this video, and it's my sample library buyer's guide. If you download this, I promise you're going to get a much clearer vision of like what the most, I guess, popular sample libraries are on the market. I mean, not every single sample library is included in this guide, obviously, but it's the ones that I personally feel are the most like affordable, but also useful in everyday work, because I wouldn't recommend you something that I would just never use. I usually recommend something because I use it, I find it affordable, I find it useful and applicable to many situations. And so depending on your budget, you might find some of those libraries very affordable or maybe more expensive, but ultimately it comes down to your personal taste. So hopefully this kind of just condenses all those libraries down for you and gives you some options. And again, it's totally free. If you click the link in the box below, it'll take you straight there. So thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. And I'll catch you in the next video. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.